Hey guys, thought I'd give you another update. It's been about a year and I've made a bunch of changes. I put this solar system into this RV 4 years ago, but I've only had these solar panels here for about a year. And forgive me, this is my first time using this camera. These solar panels I've changed over from running them as 12 volt to running them in series as 48 volt. All their max output's around 48 volt, but 24 volt setup. And the stand that I built that folds down, it collapses and can be taken along quite easy, and you'll see the hinge down in between the two. The panels just fold together and I can cart them off that way. The cord that I have on the solar panels is the standard MP4 connectors, and it's a heavy gauge extension cord is what I'm using with the 12 gauge wire in it. But the RV itself is a 1984 Pace Arrow by Fleetwood, so it's an old RV. Pardon my car. I've done a few upgrades that you can see in videos along the way. The BFA 4.0, had to do some work on it this year. I'll explain that in a second, but I've installed a propane setup on it. Comes off of the main tank, and it's a low pressure system, adapts right to the carburetor. This generator fires up instantly. It's cold. It chugs a little bit. Had to replace this switch right here. It's just a simple momentary on-off switch and a fuse because I broke them. This switch was going bad, and well, at least I thought it was going bad. Turns out, well, it was going bad, but it was intermittent, and there was also a bad ground inside the box. And then this thing would start sometimes, not others. Starting to get rough, but now it fires right up at the push of the button. It's cold, that's why it was chugging at the right at the startup, but after it warms up just a little bit, it only 30 seconds of that or so, and it quits doing it and then evens out. The rest of the system is inside, and I'll show you here in just a moment. Side note, I'm going to throw this in here, and I don't usually put my face on this, and I don't know how close I am to the camera, but if you guys like my videos, just to let you know, I am going to be taking some video over the next month that I'm going to be gone hunting, and I'm going to include the actual operation of the RV and how things are going. So if you want to hear about that, hit that bell icon, subscribe to the channel. I'm hoping with this new camera that I can put out more videos. I've been doing it with my phone up until this point, and I'm just learning video editing software. So come along and grow with me. Here's the interior, you guys. It's the length of the RV here. And in my previous walkthrough, you've seen the inside of this, but probably not as good as this camera is showing it. I'm just about ready to go hunting. I'm going to spend 4 weeks in this thing. And where I go, it can drop down to 0 at night. And last year was really, really rough. This is the heater that I was running off of. Big Buddy by Mr. Heater. Great little heater. Kicks off a lot of heat, but uses a lot of propane. And I had to refill 5-gallon propane bottles twice in a town where they know they've got you by the short and curlies. The RV itself, I have gone through now and installed in every window right at the lip. Like, these are snug fit, and I put these little clips on here. This 1-inch foam board insulation to include front window. That one I had to do in sections, and I've got small air gaps, which I'll probably deal with by using cloth, tucking around and getting rid of. These curtains, I went through and replaced the pull cords with nylon. Things I've replaced in this RV are like the toilet. We're gonna do something different with that. The what would normally be an escape hatch, but this RV has a rear window escape hatch, and every window, every single one, was able to achieve a 45-degree difference in temperature overnight with the new heater I installed. Camco Wave 8 low pressure. This thing sips propane. Put it on a hinge and a board. So all I have to do is lock that out. And it's hinged right here. It's gonna be hard to see until the camera adjusts, but it's hinged right there. And it's on this 1/2-inch plywood. And it's really, really sturdy. That way I can turn it out and it doesn't overheat the chair and the heat that rises, which isn't much. It radiates out into the room rather than rising so much. It won't overheat my TV, which is directly above. As you can see, that's really easy to operate and requires no electricity. So the furnace was gone in this RV when I purchased it. They had already opted to go with some other sort of heating. I also installed right next to it a carbon monoxide smoke detector, about mid-level of the RV, because that's just about at our head level when we're in bed. So if carbon monoxide builds up in here, we'll get the alarm and wake up to it before anything happens to us. Other changes that I have made, if you remember, on this wall right here I had a power inverter, and my batteries were all the way back here underneath the bed. Now that run from the bed through the bathroom up behind the stove, where that cable comes out to that electrical outlet now, all the way up to here, it proved to be too long, and I was receiving battery drop when I would run normal kitchen appliances like the coffee pot, and it would set off the alarm. So as you can see, I removed it, and I also moved my battery bank. I'm gonna pull the couch out just a little bit here, and I moved that battery bank to behind the couch. There it is with the power inverter, and each plug now goes to each plug on those two power outlets. Also, that was an independent system, and the reason why I went with an independent system I'll explain as I go here, but this battery bank also connects up to the front to normal house batteries, which are identical to these batteries. They've just never been tied together. And the reason why I did two separate systems is I was worried that if I was using a power inverter, I would run out of electricity and wouldn't be able to start the RV or well, basically start the RV. If I ran out of power, I'm hosed. I got nothing. So in true Boondocker style, I built a fail-safe, and it was on a separate system so that I could take one of those batteries, jump start the RV, and get back going again. My experience is that's not needed. So tied them together. They're now on the same system. I have 600 amp hours because those are 12 volt 100 amp hour AGM batteries, and they are 4 years old, all of them. along with this solar charger, this Renogy MPPT solar charge controller. It's a 1224 volt model, and it's been working like a champ. Now, if you remember my previous video, over here I had the digital display and the second charge controller. This SunForce charge controller is 12 volt only, and it was hampering, because I was running this and that off of the panels, it was hampering my ability to switch over to 48 volt because I was experiencing voltage drop, of course, when I would plug in my extension cord and move my solar panels away from the RV so that I could park the RV in the shade and move my solar panels out. I no longer experience that voltage drop because those solar panels put out 48 volts, and it's easier to push that up a 12 gauge wire over 100 feet than it is 24 volt. So, or 12 volt with the maximum of 22 all by itself was about what it was doing. But now I'm getting 48 volts out of it, and it pushes it up the wire to the controller. And as you can see, now let's see, I don't know if you can see it or not. I can't see it in the screen. Oh yeah, 14 volts, 5 amps right now. It's float charging because it's sitting only at about 14. It's not in its bulk cycle mode. It does that at about 14.6. And right now we're getting 43.7 volts under load out of the solar panels. Outside it says it's 75. It is not. It's roughly 35 degrees, almost 40 degrees outside, and it's 45 inside the RV here. It's because I haven't been running a heater at all, but my test of this heater on a 22 degree night with it running all night long was 75 degrees in this bad boy. Which is too warm for me to sleep in. I would have to actually tone it down a bit, which means that all this insulation has done its job and done exactly what I wanted it to. Other changes for that heating system, I installed this guy. What is that? Oh, it's an upside down dryer vent with a fan built in it that's adjustable. You know, all the way down where you can barely hear it, but it's still moving air. Or I can crank it up. And what that does, that goes through the closet. The fan is on a USB socket. I built a bracket, plugged it in here, and that goes down behind, hooks up to the fridge. But that fan runs through this dryer vent, basically, down into the furnace compartment. I don't think you're going to be able to see that, but you might. There's a Y in there that hooks into the old the furnace ductwork that was left behind when they pulled the furnace out. Thankfully they left that behind. That comes out at this vent. If you can see it, it's right there next to the bed, and this vent in the bathroom. So now the bathroom and the back room stay warm. This fan pulls 0.3 amps at 5 volts. I still haven't seen any kind of voltage drop when I'm running that thing constantly, or all the lights. It holds really steady at about 12.8 all night long. And that is basically my boondocking setup. I did relocate the controller for the power inverter to right here. It's also Bluetooth. I know some of you guys don't like these power inverters, but for the light duty that I use them for, they're fine. As you can see, we're holding steady at 13.5 and drawing nothing on the output in wattage. That's because nothing's plugged in other than that little USB, and nothing's plugged into it, so it's not drawing a load at all. power that back down. I also installed a new water heater. The old water heater worked kind of whenever it wanted to. Most of the time it didn't. Really hard to get a hot shower when it doesn't work. So I installed this water heater. Don't know if you heard that or not, but that was a water heater firing up. And when the generator is running, I can also run it off of electric. And I had a heck of a time figuring out where that electricity was going to come from the generator, because I thought my nearest power point was right up there. And I was going to have to bring it down and tie it in and go behind the cabinet and down into the water heater. But I found this guy as I was installing this guy. There's a power outlet right there. And so I just tied right into that outlet, ran the wires back out of the junction box, and the Romex runs right to the water heater where it's wire tied on, wire nutted on, and done and done. Control wires are run back behind everything where it doesn't interfere with the drawers, and it's all bunched nicely together. It looks really good. And so the place where I go hunting is in the shadow all day long. I would have to run the extension cable that you saw that's coming down off of this side. It actually comes in right here at the roof and then runs back into this box. You can see it running right there to the solar setup. But where I'm at, I'm in the shade all the time, so not able to use solar while I'm up there, and that poses a bit of a problem for battery life. I was looking online for chargers and just couldn't find anything that was going to work for this setup. Now, the RV has an onboard system. It's built into the power junction box, which is here. It's got a Sentinel charge controller, which when the generator's running, it switches house power over to the charge controller power, which puts out, I believe, 40 amps at exactly 12.8 volts. It's not enough to charge batteries. It will bring them up a bit, but it will not charge batteries. So it'll bring them up to like 80%, which is where you're only supposed to draw your batteries down to. That's an issue for me because these batteries are expensive and they're long life. I should get 10 plus years out of them. I'm at year 4 and have had 0 issues. So what I did is I installed this guy. That is a 24 volt, 20 amp power supply. It's a hobbyist power supply. You can find it on Amazon. And when the solar panels are unhooked, all I have to do when the generator's running is flip this switch to on right here, and that will run the solar. So what I'm going to do is set that up. We'll run a test and I'll show you how that works. Okay, so here we go. I've got the solar disconnected from the RV. There's no longer power coming in. Go inside here. Point out a couple other things before we start this test as well. These plastic sliders have a tendency to wear out from sliding back and forth. They lose a little bit of plastic every single time you do this, just tiny bits at a time. And over 30 years, this thing would just pop out. Now it doesn't, because that's a new one from Amazon with the handle on it that came with the original one. Another thing I installed is this fridge. Came out of a 1992. The old fridge was only about this tall right here, and I had to trim all of that out up to this point right here and then reframe it in so that I could anchor the fridge in. But yeah, fit width-wise, so good to go. No worries there. On to the test. So now, as you can see, we've got 0, 0, 0 coming in from solar. Nothing. It's not reading anything. Batteries leveled out at 12.8. It's early in the morning here, so I haven't been charging the solar for very long, but we'll watch on this as we fire up the old RV here generator. Yeah, I have an internal switch. Oh, and as you can see, since I've already fired it up once, the generator, no surging. Now, we're running on house voltage, and we'll wait for the charge controller to put its juice in. And, well, because I'm already at 12.8, it's not going to add anything extra. So, you can see 12.8, 0 amps from the charge controller. Now, I am going to flip this switch. Oh, let's point this out right here. Notice back here, oh, I closed the door so we don't have as much light, but the green light right there shows that this unit is now powered up. That's that 24 volt power supply, 20 amp power supply. So it's powered up, and the only thing that can connect it to the solar system, or the solar system to it, is this switch. So we have to make sure that the panels are disconnected. I'm not using them. And then what I can do is flip the switch, and then we wait. Watch. 12.9. Hear the fan kicking on the power supply. 13.6. Generator just lugged a little bit. 8.8 amps. 14.8. 14.4 amps. 13.3 amps. It's peaked at 14.8. Charge controller is able to put a bulk charge in right now at 12.9 amps. 12.4. And that's going to slowly decrease as it comes down to the charge level that it thought it was at previously. Show you the solar panels. 24.4 volts. Steady, constant, coming from that controller. Pretty cool. So that's something that I have available. I can just switch that on when I'm running my generator. I can now also turn on the electric to my hot water heater, and that's a big bonus. So, oh, and the reason why I've fought so hard to keep that Onan generator is it's quiet. I don't have to yell when I'm outside. I don't have to be irritated by generator noise while I'm inside. We're gonna go ahead and shut this off now. Generator just lightened up, and we're gonna power her down. Notice the dimming of the lights. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the dimming of the lights is as it's switching from generator power to house power. And that, boys and girls, is basically my solar setup, and it has been a champ. I have not ran these batteries dead, not one time running them off of solar. I've gotten low enough that I couldn't use my power inverter based off of the amount of solar that I was getting, but now, as you can see, that's not an issue. Boondocking is going to be so much cheaper, using less heat here, being able to run the generator off of propane. Something that I didn't let you know about is I purchased this year 2 100-pound tanks that are going to sit right outside this window and chained to the wheel so nobody steals them. But 2 100-pound propane tanks. That'll give me a total of almost 75 gallons of propane. I should be able to boondock this RV for, depending on the weather, an entire year. Based just sitting. One of the other things that I haven't told you guys about yet is right after we purchased the RV, we took it on a 3,000-mile trip, and about 800 miles from home it seized a piston, and so this Chevy 454 is freshly rebuilt. She's got about 5,000 miles on her now, and the quadrupute carburetor that was on it was garbage. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but the factory air cleaner has a Edelbrock sticker on it. That's because I stuck an 800 CFM Edelbrock carburetor on it, and now I'm getting roughly 9 miles to the gallon out of it. So there's my boondocking setup. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Trying to think, hoping I covered everything that I've done to this RV. Yeah. If you like my videos, like, subscribe, dislike if you don't like them. I don't care. But ring that little bell icon and get notified of when I'm putting out new videos. Hope you guys enjoyed.